Do we have all 8 functions? I kind of look at it this way. I call it yellow and blue makes green. So you have yellow and you have blue. Let's just say that symbolizes a function, but you do not have green. But if you combine those two, now you do have green. So it's like if you have Fi and you have Te and you combine them together, you get Fe. If you have Fi and Te and you combine them together this way, then you have Ti. You can kind of make that other function. That is what I see is consistent with reality in the sense that people that are extremely successful and balanced and are not really having a super hard time in life as far as knowing who they are and getting shit done, they have to play all 8 functions. It doesn't matter which functions they're born with. It doesn't matter which 2 savior functions they like best. As they've gotten older and they've gotten good, what defines them as a great person in society is that they can be Fe courteous and they can Te make things work, and they do Ti know the reasons for their identity, and they do have an Fi value that they're very passionate about. They don't care if you like it or not. So they end up having all the functions, quote unquote, in some way, shape, or form as far as their performance, right? But does that necessarily mean that there's like 8 different bubbles in their head that symbolize the 8 different functions? I don't know about that, because it might be more like if the functions are kind of 4 different, like the stupid image on the screen here that's completely not scientific in any way, shape, or form. If the functions are somewhat like that, where they're like different sections of your brain, which they're not technically, and then it's more about everyone is born with kind of a disposition to an introverted or extroverted charge per letter. So everybody has thinking. Thinking is thinking. If you have Ti and I have Te, our thinking isn't any different. There's no difference in the thinking of anybody, or whether you have it as a savior or a demon, it doesn't matter. So it's like your T, say you have Ti, your T is just kind of narrowing in and choosing to focus a little bit towards the center. And this person has Te, their focus is a little bit wider, and it's playing the spectrum game. It's playing the reasons of everybody else, not just yourself. It's not that the Ti guy can't look around on the spectrum, because they do. They do it whenever they want, which isn't very often. But they can look at the spectrum. They can understand the reasons of everybody else. And then the Te people, they don't look at all ideas the same. They'll come at a project going, what are all the reasons? What's everyone's reasons? What's the spectrums of reasons, logics, ideas, what works? And then over time, they will focus in on, oh, this one right here. It's like my neighbor who's lead TE, ESTJ guy, he can tell you all about every lawnmower out there. And then you ask him, well, what's your favorite lawnmower? And he'll zero right in, kind of with his FI. But he can say, here's the best reasons for this one. So he kind of create a TI effect, even though he has TE, right? I think maybe the question might be flawed because it's assuming kind of a different structure of how the functions are. And if it's generally all the same for everybody and it's just more of this spectrum game, so your N is the same as my N, doesn't really matter. And then you can, of course, adapt. You can be more extroverted with your functions or more introverted if you want. That's kind of the point of fucking growth, right? Does that necessarily mean you have the other 4, therefore 8? I guess a lot of it depends on how you word it, definition of terms. You can make a case for yes, absolutely, but you could also make a case like, maybe genetically it doesn't quite work that way. I don't really know and I don't really care. I would say this though, for INTJs, the thing that does end up saving their life, get this, is SI. It's absolutely SI. And I know that like personally true, I've seen it in my life, other people's life. The thing that saves the ENTJ is FE. And I'm seeing that consistently as well. So what's happening there? Let's take the ENTJ, for example. The ENTJ has tribe validation first. You're not going to change that. So the ENTJ is always going to want to live a life pleasing the tribe. The goal is to stop martyring yourself, right? It's not to become balanced in a literal sense where everybody's the same. You still want to have your advantages. So how does the ENTJ really make this work in life? Well, they can't do more TE because that creates a problem. And they can't do more FI because now they become selfish. They have to use FE and take their TE and FI and work them together and go, all right, I can see the reasons in reality and I can start to see what I value, FI. How can I now care about others? And when the ENTJ can put that TE and that FI together and create an FE effect, that's what really starts to create the practical change. Same with the INTJ of hey, dude, if you could systematize that plan, if you can take that abstract plan, write it into the sensory and organize that plan in the sensory, that makes the INTJ's life explode. So whatever type you are, it's kind of look at your first function and your fourth function, combine them, but kind of then benefit on the human needs side of that first function. So if you're an ENTP, that's NE plus SI, that's going to be SE. Can the ENTP or the ENFP be paying more attention to the facts around them? These are just little observations I'm noticing. Yes, develop all 4 of your functions. And then when you're done developing your 4 functions, start merging them together to create the effect of the other four functions that you don't have, and therefore becoming a very well capable, well-rounded person that can get stuff done.